In this episode, I reviewed Bodu Saved from Drowning, which was released in 1932. This was directed by Jean Renoir. It was based on a play by René Fauchot. I hope I have that pronounced somewhat correctly. The screenplay was by Jean Renoir and Albert Valentin, and it starred Michel Simon. Welcome to Robert Bellissimo at the Movies. This is a YouTube video podcast exploring storytelling on film as well as interviews with industry professionals who work in film, television, theater, among other areas of the arts. The plot, according to IMDb on Bodu Saved from Drowning, is a bookseller saves a tramp from drowning and shelters him, but the tramp's odd behavior starts to wear everyone down. So I'm very new with Jean Renoir. He's a director I've been meaning to get to. I must admit, I only just recently for the first time saw The Rules of the Game, which I really loved. The reason I'm currently taking a bit of a crash course on Jean Renoir is because I'm going to be partaking in a review on another podcast to review The Rules of the Game. This is actually the Projection Booth podcast. Mike White is the host, which is a podcast I like a lot. So I'm taking it upon myself to watch as many Jean Renoir films as I can. And I'm also reading this fantastic book from the late, great André Bazin, Jean Renoir. It was edited by Francois Truffaut, and there's an introduction by Jean Renoir inside as well. And I'm really enjoying this book. It really helps to get a better understanding of not only the man, Jean Renoir, but the way in which he worked and the way he expressed the stories he told on film. What I find really appealing, which is new to me, is how he uses Impressionism to tell his stories. His father, Pierre Auguste, was a great painter, as we all know, Renoir, great impressionistic painter. So that certainly had an influence on him. This, was a play. Theater had an influence on him. He later actually directed some plays in the 1950s. Of course, as I said, Impressionism, but also farce and satire, comedy. There's so much modes of expression that he uses to tell his stories. And one thing that I find really appealing about him is that he wasn't really interested in psychological probabilities or psychological realism. If you look at his stories, and I'm new to his films, but from the ones I've seen so far, and this one being no different, he's not interested in necessarily a realistic story or characters being psychologically motivated, giving the audience a psychological motivation or even an ambiguous psychological motivation where there's possibilities that the audience can lead into. There's a little bit of that in here. I mean, you can always go to the film and connect the dots as you wish, but the story's quite unrealistic, and that's nothing against it, but he's more interested in an impression of the feelings of the story and what the story is saying about society and people. And this really is, poking fun at the bourgeois. He's certainly saying something about, this man being homeless who Michel Simon plays. How in a way he is wiser than than the bourgeois, that even though he's someone from the streets, and is, obviously quite troubled and it's quite funny. And when he gets into that house, he's behaving quite oddly, but he seems to be more connected to the world around him and life than the rich people in the film, the people who are the famous bookseller and his wife and mistress. But he, again, with a great deal of simplicity, is saying so much about society and people. And so we have again, and he's sort of having two different stories coming together, and he has this casual approach to it as well, whereas again, because he was less interested in plot, he just allows these improbabilities, let's say, or far-fetched scenarios come together because of the feeling of what it's saying about society. And so we have Michel Simon here as Bodu, who we see has this dog. He's living on the streets. People don't treat him very well. He loses the dog, and he asks a police officer where the dog went. The cop couldn't care less, doesn't want to help him. Right after that, this really attractive woman asks the same cop about her dog that she also lost, and he's more than helpful with her. And I'm like, man, that is so true. I mean, because I've seen that with people. It's like this person's attractive, so therefore I want to have some kind of a conversation here, or help her in some way, because the fact that she's a beautiful woman. But him, who's this person on the street, the cop's like, yeah, go away, you're just a burden. So we're seeing him in his environment, and people not being very kind to him. And so he loses his dog, and then before you know it, he jumps in the river, and he tries to kill himself. Now, one thing, Bazin, again, Andre Bazin, he highlights that, okay, it seems quite improbable that someone would commit suicide over a dog. I mean, I'm not saying that people don't love their dogs, or that their dogs or animals are not part of the family, and that there's not a deep connection. But there's something where you think, would you really kill yourself because you lost your dog? It seems a little, again, it just seems questionable. And I mean, you can also say, if you do need some kind of motivation behind it, that maybe he's just sick of life and he's depressed because he's homeless, which is a possibility. But again, he doesn't give you any answers. And again, he's not interested in why he's doing it. He's doing it. This is what he's doing. He's going to kill himself. He doesn't want to live anymore. He hates the world around him, and that's it. And so why he does it, don't worry about it. You just got to go with it. And so then we see the other storyline, which is the bookseller and his mistress and his wife. And I like the way it's introduced, because we see the bookseller with his mistress, and they're, we don't know exactly who they are to each other. We get the impression it's a girlfriend or wife or something. He's like, got his arm around her, and he's talking sweetly to her. And she leaves, and then sure enough, he opens the blinds, and there's another woman there. So I love when movies do that, when it's making you feel that a character is a certain way, or has a certain relationship, where we make an assumption like, oh, that must be his girlfriend, that must be his wife. And then within seconds, to when that one character leaves, opens the blind, and there's another woman who's cleaning. So we're like, oh, hang on a second. Now, who is this guy? I love when you gotta really pay attention, or else you'll miss those details. And he's interested in the whole frame. Every single person makes such an impact. And so here's this rich bookkeeper. He spots Bodu jumping in the river, and again, he jumps in to save him. Now, again, you'd ask yourself, why would this guy want to save this, what he calls the tramp? He's like sort of like a take on the Tramp, the Charlie Chaplin Tramp character. And so, but he does it anyways. And, again, if you get hung up on, well, why would this guy want to save this guy, especially being, so rich and already cheating on his wife? He's clearly got a despicable type of guy, and he's saving this tramp. But again, it doesn't matter, because what he's interested is in what this is all going to bring about within the story, and what it's going to highlight, what's the feeling behind it, what is it going to do to these characters as they interact. But again, if you are, because I'm sort of inclined to want to look at why people look at what a character is doing, and make some kind of a choice, if not a choice, but maybe different possibilities of because a motive is never static. So the only thing I could really think of is maybe from the guilt of cheating on his wife, he wants to save this guy to do some kind of good. Again, that's kind of vague, right? But it doesn't matter. He saves him, Bodu jumps in the river. He brings him inside of his house, and now they're all together. This unlikely people hanging out, the mistress, the girlfriend, and Bodu. And what I love about the way Bodu Michel Simon gives just a phenomenal performance. I couldn't help but wonder if that would be intimidating to take on the homeless tramp-like character who's clearly a type like the Chaplin tramp, who's so well known. Everyone knows that character to this day. People know the image of Chaplin as the tramp. Even if you've never seen his films, you know who that is. And I couldn't help but wonder if that would be intimidating, but he makes it his own. And you just really believe that he is this character. And what I like so much about it is that here they are being like kind to him and nice to him, and they saved him. And, he's being demanding about his wine. Where's my wine? They're feeding him, and then his wife brings the wine over, and he's like, it's about time. Oh God, the irony of that just really, really killed me. And so they take him in. They let him stay there. The wife is clearly not happy about it, but the shop owner is adamant about helping this guy. Again, why would he help this guy? You don't know. But it's really what comes about, and the feelings beyond it. And what's interesting is that the mistress works there and also has a room there, because within the bookshop they also live on top of it, and so I'm not sure if they live on top of the bookshop, but it's quite a big store that they have like a house or apartment connected to it. So she lives there, and then at night he's sleeping on the couch, but he's so used to sleeping like on the ground or on a bench outside or what have you, that he needs to sleep on the floor. And so he's sleeping on the floor, and then at night is when the book store owner, Edward is his name, would go and have his affair and the mistress, her name is Chloe. And so he's blocking the stairs in order for Edward to get to Chloe overnight. And so now he can't he can't have this affair because he's got to step over this guy, and as soon as he goes there, he wakes up. So again, it's hilarious. It's farcical. It really is a farce in a lot of ways. And so this affair that's happening, his wife doesn't know about it, right? So what ends up happening is, Bodu brings a lot of good into what's happening in this household by not intentional. Because he ends up flirting and wanting to kiss both Chloe and the wife. And so what ends up happening is, Chloe says, well, you got to cut off your beard in order to kiss me. She likes him a little bit, and then, he cuts off like his mustache, and the other guy comes in and catches him being quite forceful with her and pushing her around. And so then he goes to the barber to cut his beard off so he can get his kiss. Sure enough, he does. He comes back. He looks like a new person. But, in the meantime, he has trashed the house, leaves the faucet on. There's water all over the floor. He is turning the house upside down. But what ends up happening is he sleeps with his wife. And so as a result of that, everything comes about. Because then when Bodu and the wife go into the bedroom, sure enough, the bookshop owner, Edward, is there with his mistress. And so everything comes about. Everything comes out in the open, which is a good thing in the sense. Renoir was interested in morals. He was a moralist, as Bazin was saying in the book. And so here is this stuff coming out, and the truth of what's happening coming out because of Bodu, but obviously unintentionally. And so, Charles Edward sort of like, okay, well, the affair has to stop. I need to just be with my wife, and Chloe, you need to be with Bodu. Now, in the meantime, Bodu he had this lottery ticket. He won the lottery. So now he's a rich man. And of course, Chloe is happy to now marry him. So this beautiful last scene I love where they get married and they're all on this boat and he sort of restored order in the house. Edward's back with his wife. Bodu is with Chloe. And so but he looks very uneasy, uncomfortable in this environment. He's got like this hat on, this top hat on. He's been giving him clothes, Edward, so he's dressed like a rich businessman type. And the boat topples over, they all fall in the water, and Bodu swims off. And so they all think he drowned, but he died, just like it starts at the beginning. And sure enough, he swims off, he doesn't go back to them. He takes off his wet clothes. He finds a scarecrow outside that had clothes on, switches the clothes, throws the hat in the water, and just lies back on the grass, right? And so the camera pans. I mean, it's a constant theme with Renoir is water. The camera pans across the water. So Bodu, started the film jumping in the water and a return to the water. It's almost like he is an angel who came into these people's lives to bring the truth out of this false relationships and these cheatings that's going on, and now he's gone. But what's really interesting is the fact that he was a street character, and he had the taste of the bourgeois life. He became wealthy. He's now had this wife, this really beautiful woman that he was really attracted to. He's got it all. He's got, what can be wrong, and what does he do? He throws it all away, and it's a return sort of the salt of the earth back to a life of purity. And it's kind of, again, it's not necessarily realistic that one may do this, but what is that saying? It's like the other characters are choosing money. You see, I mean, Chloe suddenly wants to marry him because he won the lottery, right? They're used to having material things and having money, and so this is what they want in their lives, and they likely have never lived like Bodu. There's no indication that they were ever homeless, of course, but there's no indication either that they ever struggled in their life, let's say, or were paycheck to paycheck. It's making fun of the bourgeois in the sense that, what you have is and all this stuff that you have in your life is actually disconnecting you from the rest of the world. And really, in a sense, Bodu has it all because he, yes, in the beginning wanted to kill himself because of, again, it's up to you why he may have wanted to do that. But in a sense, he already had it all and he just forgot. He was in the world. He was connected to the world. He was connected to the salt of the earth and water, to the essentials of life. And so having a taste of the good life, let's say, and material things, who cares? Throws it away, lies in the grass, and is living and breathing and accepting the moment. And even the way he lies back, he looks content and happy. So it's so interesting to me because here's this far out story, but is done with so much humor, so much simplicity, yet is saying so much about what's important in life. Now, again, I'm not saying that, it's not to say that, oh yes, we should all be homeless. Of course not. But it's like Bodu is, but it's highlighting that truly we need to be more connected to the world, to our environment, to the planet, to nature, and that's ultimately much more of a spiritual experience, and is what's really good for our soul. And how the mistress and his wife and the mistress and the book owner, the bookkeeper Edward, and his wife, and they're missing out on life because they're all just about money and owning things. And you see in the end, they miss Bodu. They think he died, and they're the ones who are ultimately sad in the end. There's a void now. I don't even think they're really necessarily conscious of the good that he brought into the world. And then there's Bodu lying out on the grass. So again, he's using impressionism. He's using, I guess you'd call this an impressionistic cinema, taking these things that are really unrealistic, but yet the essence of it, the feelings of it are so realistic. What it's saying is a philosophy, let's say, and a truth, and again makes one evaluate their own life. I'm even asking myself, how connected am I to nature? How connected am I to the universe? How connected am I to the world around me? These are things that we should constantly ask ourselves. So I really, really like this movie. If you haven't seen it, it's on the Criterion Channel. I highly recommend checking it out. I'm going to continue reading this great book. I'm almost done and exploring the filmography of one of the great filmmakers of all time, Jean Renoir. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this review. Comment below. Let me know what you think of this film, if you've seen it, and if you haven't, go check it out. Thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I hope that you've enjoyed this review. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel by pressing the Robert Bellissimo at the Movies logo. You will see it floating above my head in the top left corner to your top left in just a second. Just click on that and then click the bell in order to get a notification every time I release one of my new episodes or when I go live. Thank you so much, everyone. I will see you in the next episode.